Welcome to another episode of Trouble to Transformation. This episode defies easy labels and comforts. Today, we're joined by a guest whose journey is as raw as it is inspiring, a true testament to the human spirit's power to transform. Your rock bottom could be your rise to a new beginning. Once navigating the dark corners of addiction, smoking crack in an alley on East Hastings, Mike Brown has redefined recovery into a beacon of hope. This isn't just another recovery narrative dressed up for likes. Mike's social media rips the shine off addiction myths with raw, unflinching truth. It's a lifeline for those silently sinking, reminding them they're not beyond reach. Now reinvented as a one-on-one coach, Mike has true you transformation that brings a no-nonsense, deeply personal approach that goes far beyond genetic pep talks or traditional therapy. Get ready for a conversation that's going to peel back the layers, a dialogue that promises to inspire anyone whose lives are touched by addiction. Welcome, Mike Brown. Thank you for coming on today. I am super stoked to have this conversation with you. Just so the viewers know, I started following Mike on Instagram. He has a page out there, TrueU_Mike. And if you want to follow anything addiction, recovery, and redemption, I want you to head on over to Mike's page because his content is fire. You got some good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me and inviting me onto your space and to share some
Yeah.
hope today.
Yeah. And like we were talking earlier, I also work in treatment and recovery, and I share a lot of your content with my clients because, hey,
Mhm.
I'm just one person over here and I need help. So, and my
Yeah,
mission is actually to call on the brotherhood to come in as a community and start speaking the authenticity. And that's what I love about your page. It is so raw and
yeah,
authentic. And
I
your
appreciate that.
videos don't hold anything back.
No, there's no sugarcoating. That
Yeah.
was my life, and
Hmm.
I hid for a long time. We'll get into that, I'm sure. And
Yes.
today it's just showing up as my authentic self. I have no guilt or shame about my past. I always say to individuals and myself that the wreckage from our past is now our greatest asset, right? I turn my pain into purpose, and I honestly I
Mm.
love to do it today, right? So
Yeah, I love that pain to purpose part.
yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been in recovery? How long have you been sober?
I've been sober for over 2 years now.
Yeah.
This has been a journey. I knocked
Mm.
on a lot of doors of recovery homes, went through a lot of recovery homes,
Mm.
detoxes at some point in my life, um, therapists, psychiatrists, just addictions counselors. So, I mean, I've definitely walked that life. And this time, I mean, it's kind of cliche to say, right? It's like, oh, this time is different. I have a saying, and it's every day is day one. So I wake up
Yes.
every day, and the first thing that I do is I wake up before my wife, before the dog's up, and I earn my morning. And that morning sets me up for the day. So I create the best version of myself so I can give that to the ones that are around
Yes.
me. Because it's not about me
Yes.
anymore, right? I did enough of selfish and self-centered acts. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And what I heard there is that recovery is a lot of work and it's every day. It's showing up for yourself every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just life in general, wherever you want to go towards, it's that
Mhm.
consistency. Like me as somebody that used cocaine and booze, I was an instant gratification junkie, right? So
Yes.
the big adjustment for me was just focusing on the day. And sometimes they
Mhm.
seem like very minimal tasks and very mundane, but this is long view today, right? So all of that stuff started to turn into healthy habits, discipline, showing up for myself, building that confidence. So the way we do
Mhm.
one thing is the way we do everything. right? And
Yeah.
it's been a huge game changer for me.
Yeah. And and I really like what you said about all those little tasks because there's that old adage, you take care of the pennies and the dollars will just automatically take care of themselves, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, thank you for that. And of course, being a therapist, all therapists want to know,
Yeah.
where did it start? Like, how was your childhood? How did you grow up? Where did it start?
So my childhood was good. I hold
Mhm.
no resentment, no blame on my parents. I was loved. I always say I grew up in a middle class family, and it was, a pool in the backyard and cottages in the summer and barbecues, and I played sports, but there was something inside of Mike that just never felt right. There's that terminology of a square peg in a round hole. I always felt like that. I always felt less than. I always had negative self-talk, very, very low self-esteem. I was a very avid soccer and hockey player, and I quit both of those, and I was
Mm.
talented at them.
Yeah.
I think part of me had a sense. My biological father left when I was 2.
Mhm.
I was blessed with who I consider my father today, came into my life at 3 years old. And there was no resentment against him, but there was this sense of, I guess, almost like, why doesn't my dad want me? Like my real dad, like not even
Yes.
I'd met him a handful of times and stuff. And it was just that. So where it started was I think like a lot of kids, like I'm 45 years old, so we used to go to things called like bush bashes and we'd have a keg party in the bush. But I stole alcohol from my parents. We were all gonna go out, we were all
Mm.
gonna drink. I was probably 14 years old, and even at 14 years old, when I drank that medicine, as I say, it was
Yes.
like, I always say this, I arrived. I could do
Mm.
anything. I was talking to
Yeah.
girls, I was laughing, I had this courage. And from
Yeah. The
there,
liquid
it was
courage.
just, yeah, from there, it again, it progressed very quickly. I don't want to say with the alcohol, we would
Mhm.
drink at parties, I think. And my parents were very, very, very open, especially my
Mhm.
father.
Yeah.
He grew up in a small town. He just said, hey, it's part of growing up, right? Like, as long as we know you're safe, be
Mhm.
open, be honest with us. If you're at a friend's house and you're going to have a few beers, I'd rather you tell us than we not knowing
Yes.
what's going on. And I always thought that was really cool. But
Yeah.
that's where the journey started.
Yeah, so it sounds like we had the same childhood actually,
Yeah.
because parents, middle class parents. My dad worked away a lot or whatever, so I
Mhm.
didn't develop a relationship with him until much older. But I
Yeah.
think I think there's a stigma attached to addiction, and that
Mm.
is that it's always trauma based, and that is not the case at all. Like I think that
Yeah.
those adolescent years is so forming and we're just
Mhm.
developing our identities. And if there's any low self esteem or awkwardness, shyness, then yeah, the
Yeah.
alcohol is, like you said, the medicine. And then there it
Mhm.
starts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we'll probably get deeper into this down the line, but it's
Hmm.
I've come to learn and accept that alcohol and my drug of choice it's a symptom, right?
Yeah.
It was my solution to all of that
Yes.
internal dialogue that I used to sell myself, right? The
Yeah.
fear, the limited beliefs, the low self-esteems, and
Yeah.
and and those putting the alcohol down in the beginning was easy. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
because I was just done. But now I had to face self, and that was a
Yes.
whole different chapters.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did you ever get into trouble with the law when you
I
were?
did.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
say this like not laughing, but it's,
Hmm.
I can look at my past now, and for me, it's just I'm able to use that as my experience now, right?
Hmm.
When I was growing up, I lived in fear, right? So I always wanted to surround myself with like big, tough guys. There was just, most kids were watching hockey games, I'll be honest. Excuse me.
Hmm.
I was reading books on bikers and mobs. Like I had
Mm,
a
yeah.
massive poster in my room of John Gotti. Like it's just, I don't know. In
Mm-hmm.
high school, I went to high school to sell weed. But it wasn't until all the trouble that I got in with the law was when I was drunk. I had one
Mm,
very, very, very serious charge. It was assault with a weapon causing bodily harm.
mm-hmm.
And again, I was acting out of character. So for me at that point in my life, Rhonda, in order to get the validation and the respect from the crew that I was hanging out with, that meant more to me than the repercussions of what would happen to me personally. If I
Yes.
had to go do 3, 5 years in the penitentiary, so be it. I wore this life like a badge of honor. It was like, look at me.
Yeah.
But really and truly, I was just lost. As you said, I was a scared little boy inside. That's all that I was.
Mm,
But to answer your question, yeah, I did. I got in trouble with the law. I
mm-hmm.
don't know if I want to call it luck. It's just the way that it worked out. I had a
Yeah.
lawyer. What had happened was the assault charge happened. Um, I was cuffed. I was released after a couple of days once we got to speak with what's called the Justice of the Peace down here.
Yeah.
And I was to show up for my court date, and I didn't. So I ended up having what was called a bench warrant out for my arrest. So I had a
Yes.
warrant out for, oh, I don't know, months and months and months and months. And then what they do in Ontario is, eventually they'll start serving those bench warrants and kind of look for you, right?
Right.
So they had contacted my sister, my older sister, and she was
Mm,
not pleased about this. And they showed up at my buddy's house that I was actually at. I hid in the bathtub, like flat down like this. He knew enough. He had dealt with the law enough and said, "You can't come in. He's not here. That's it." And
mm-hmm.
that was it. So my sister called me and said, "You have to turn yourself in. This is ridiculous." And my buddy was like, "Well, turn yourself in, or like we'll fly you to Vancouver because they can't serve the warrant out in another province." But yeah, I made the
Mm,
choice to go turn myself in, and I eventually
mm-hmm.
got released and went into court. And you know what? I had to learn a lot of hard lessons because that crew didn't show up for me. I'm not saying that that's
Ah.
the same for everybody, but in my situation, they didn't show up. They wanted to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I didn't talk, I didn't say anything, and I didn't.
Yes. Yeah.
But they weren't
Yeah.
showing up to court. They were making sure they didn't pay the lawyer bills. It was my dad that was saying to my mom, like enough is enough. Like maybe he
Yeah.
does need some time in jail. And beknownst to me, in the court case, we had pleaded our case, and I pled guilty, and hoping that they were looking at 3 to 5 years. And then he said, if you plead out, you can do hopefully what's called a deuce less, so two less a day, which means I'll just do like just local time, like I would just go to jail, not the big boy prison, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then when the judge said, "Is there anyone here in court with you?" I had no idea. My mom stood up, and she's just like,
Ah.
"That's, being a mom. That's my little boy. Like, I'll take him." They
Yeah.
lived in Montreal at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I was on probation for 2 years. I had to deal with a probation officer. I had a lot of community service to do in Ontario, and then I was released to my mom in Montreal. So
Yeah.
it was that was enough for me. I had been
Yeah.
in like little kind of scuffles and like arrested for fighting, but no charges laid down.
Mm-hmm.
The crew that I hung out with, there was always cops poking around and stuff like that. But
Ah. Yes.
yeah, other than that, yeah, underage drinking fines and stuff. So that was the big major one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
And how old were you when that went down?
how old? Oh, I'm 45 right now. So where did I go after that from there? I think I was about 23 years old.
Ah, yes. And
Yeah,
that's a big
yeah,
piece right there. Like,
yeah.
as we know, adolescents are 25, up to 25.
Right.
And
Yeah.
especially young men 18 to 25, they don't have that cognitive processing just yet. It's not
No.
developed. So
Hmm.
there's very limited like awareness of consequences. And I see that a lot because we take men coming out of the judicial system, and I
Yeah.
find that a lot of the younger guys, like, 18 to 25, it's this identity piece. It's
Oh,
not really who
100%.
they are,
No.
you know?
No. Yeah, and I guess you're very impressionable at that time, right? So
Yes.
to
Yeah.
me, I've always grown up like this. I mean, my sister, I love her to death. She has lived in the same city that we grew up in, went
Mm-hmm.
to college, got a job, had a couple of jobs, works for the bank. She's been at the bank for, I don't know, 20 years now. Three
Mm-hmm.
amazing, beautiful kids, beautiful home. I just
Mm-hmm.
never personally wanted that back then. Like my
Yeah.
vision and goal was to be like this badass. Like I'm not going
Yeah.
by anybody's rules. I'm getting tattooed. And you're absolutely right. It was an identity uh
Mm-hmm.
issue, I guess, or crisis that I was having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you definitely got lucky though, because if you would have served time in the penitentiary, then this
Mhm.
is that's like a road to hell, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've worked with guys that come out of the penitentiary, and I have friends
Mm-hmm.
that are still serving time. And it's
Mm.
unfortunately it's a cycle. You can't blame society. I believe that it's a hard road, a way harder road because of the
Mm-hmm.
start that you have to start at, the position that you have to start at. But just seeing how individuals can be treated in society from getting a job and getting
Yes.
integrated again. And then when you have a mindset, if you've been doing this for X amount of years and you know how to make X amount of money in 2 days, like going into a job and saying like, okay, you're going to make minimum wage and this is what you're going to make every 2 weeks, like it's
Mm-hmm.
hard, right? And it takes a lot of
Yes.
sacrifice, man. So you really need that mindset
Yes.
shift, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm so grateful to have men such as yourself that have these types of coaching programs that can teach
Mm-hmm.
them about
Yeah.
mindset and personal brands and monetization and
Yeah.
because that's what I see a lot too is that there's not a lot of support when they get out. They don't have a job. They've got a criminal record, and housing. Like who can
Um,
afford that on a low income wage? Like it's very difficult for them. Very difficult.
Well, and then that's the thing, right? Like you're gonna go into a lot of people will go into like a halfway house, let's say, or they get an
Mm-hmm.
early probation, or they get a room given to them at I hate to say it, but a kind of a sketchy hotel where all you're surrounded
Yes.
by is that life. It's like,
Addicts.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
even have a chance? You do, but again, it's like and again, I'm a little more empathetic or sympathetic to the situation where it's like, if you
Mhm.
did your time, like you did your time, man, like you should be able to be come out and treated like a human being, you know? Like,
Yes.
how does that
Yes.
do with the subconscious of constantly
Mhm.
being told no, 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 right? So we dealt with a lot of individuals as well with in Ontario, they started having people or judges that were like for drug court specifically,
Mhm.
but at
Okay.
the same time, it's like what's got you to this point? And then you hear about their past and you're like, oh my gosh, like your heart bleeds
Yes.
for them. You're not a bad person.
Yeah.
You're just in complete survival mode, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And have you ever seen Fritzy Horseman's Step Inside the Circle?
I don't know if I have. No.
Oh, it's incredible. It's about a 7-minute video. I'll send it to you. I'll
Yeah,
send you the
please do.
link. And it's basically the ACEs. They do the ACEs score, but she goes into California Max, and she has 256 incarcerated men in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the aces, and every time they answer yes to one of the aces, they step inside the circle. And now, before you know it, you've got 256 men that are standing in a very tight circle because every single one of them has scored on the aces. And it's trauma, everything
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
sexual trauma to being,
Yeah.
one guy told his story about how his mom tried to flush him down the toilet when he was
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
terrible, some of the things. So what we have in incarceration is the most traumatized individuals.
Yeah. What 100%. And that clique, that crew, whatever you want to categorize it
Hmm.
under, like that becomes your family. Those are the
Yes.
individuals that have ever stuck up for you, that have ever shown you any kind of love or support or respect. And with that comes, that's why in that world, respect is everything. So when you come
Everything.
out here and an individual talks to you in a certain way, it takes a lot to refrain from just not smashing that person in the mouth because
Yes.
that's just I call it I guess the politics that
Hmm.
they're surrounded by, right? So,
Yeah. They
yeah.
become institutionalized.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
I mean, I did a 90-day program in a place called Windsor, Ontario, and they had an
Mm-hmm.
early release program for guys that were in prison. And they could come out and they could go through this program and kind of get them reintegrated. And it was great. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, even me just being around that for 90 days, no phones, no social media, 5-minute phone call a day on a pay
Mm-hmm.
phone. You're up at the same time. Like it's very regimented. The rules were ask, listen, and do as you're told, and that's it. And if you can't
Yep.
abide by that,
Mm-hmm.
literally, like to be blunt, get the fuck out. Like you don't
You're
want
right.
this, right? So like I wanted it, but still, when I got out, it was that was only 90 days, and the world was
Yes.
just like it
Yeah.
was everything in a recovery home is basically done for you. Your job is
Mm.
to work on yourself. Now, when you get
Yeah.
into society again, nothing's changed. And it's just
Yeah.
like, whoa, it's like sensory overload. I can't
Yes.
even imagine,
Agreed.
yeah, what it would be
Yeah.
like for some of these guys that have just done 5, 7, 10 years. And now
Yeah.
they're just like, here you go. It's like, whoa,
Yes.
there's no
Yeah. It's
exit
so
strategy.
true. Yeah. And like we have our program is 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, and with a 6-month program, we have an 89 to 93% success rate because it gives them
wow.
time to, yeah, to give some time to learn about themselves. But
Yeah,
however, we do get guys that have been there like fourth, fifth, sixth time,
yeah,
because they do go out into the real world and they find that it's too hard. It is
yeah.
really difficult. So I like that you're
I mean, yeah.
sharing that because it's a reality.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same within addiction, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just like my normalcy became chaos. So when I tried to
Mm,
explain to people that like having money in my bank or like having a job that I'm doing well at, like subconsciously, I wanted to self-sabotage. I didn't do well in that. It was like,
mhm,
this is weird to me. To having peace in my life or no conflict, it was like what
mhm.
like I always called it like I'm gonna step on the landmine. Time to blow this up. That's
Ah,
I couldn't
yeah,
function, right? I did better in life when it was like almost like having to like fight. Whereas
yeah.
all you have to do, they say, is just show up. Like just go to your job. And I was just like, no, this seems to wait. Something is off here. I didn't trust the
Ah,
process, as they say, right? So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Addicted to the chaos.
100%.
Yeah,
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 absolutely. I always looked at, and I don't mean any disrespect to this, but I looked at the 9 to 5 lifestyle and I was like, there is no way. I am not doing a
yeah.
9 to 5 and then going to a Home Depot on a Saturday and then going to mow my lawn, right? And and
Mm.
and now I have, a fiance, a cat, a dog, a beautiful
Yeah,
condo. We go
I love
grocery
it.
shopping in the
Yeah,
mornings, and it's like
yeah,
it's a humbling experience. But again,
yeah.
once your identity shifts and you come into your true self, you're like,
Mhm.
this is what I like to do today, man. Like I like
Yeah,
to
that
just go
I
sit
really
in the
love
park.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The whole
great.
9 to 5. I used to have this saying that I'm actually kind of embarrassed about now, but I used to call it the white picket fence syndrome. And
Yeah,
that
yeah, I've
wasn't for
heard that.
me. Like
Yeah.
because I fed off the chaos myself. And one of the very first things that I teach clients now is the nervous system. Like
Hmm.
actually recognizing the nervous system, that your
Yeah.
thoughts create feelings that create these outward behaviors that now
Yeah.
send signals back up to the brain to
Mhm.
confirm this personal narrative.
Yeah, like I'm sure you're obviously familiar with cognitive behavior therapy, and it's
Oh
just the way
yes,
that
yeah.
we swing the pendulum to
Yeah.
worst case scenario. And it's like, okay,
Yes.
well, like I talk to clients, it's like, let's play that out. What if it happens? Like you're not
Yeah.
gonna die. You're not like, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's we
Yeah.
amplify it so much. And then what I found within myself is those were the moments, boom, right to a bar.
Yeah.
That's where I
Yeah.
hit, right? And before you
Yeah.
know it, like they always say, relapse happens before you even pick something up. It's
Mm-hmm.
mental first before you grab a substance, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, you're
So, I
absolutely
mean,
right.
being addicted to the chaos and always self-sabotaging anything normal in your life. I'm not
Mhm.
going to mention his name, but this message is specific to a client of mine, and he's going to
Okay.
watch this.
Sure.
Who keeps telling me that he's bored. And what would you say to somebody that is like stuck in that boredom because their life has been chaos, but now it's like a 9 to 5?
Well, I mean, there's boredom and then there's feeling lonely. Most people think that lonely is
Mm.
being alone, but it's not. It's you, there's something internally in you still that's just not sitting right, and you have to deal with
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's what I had to learn.
Mm.
Well, boredom, like me, I run what's called an 8-step pillar. And everything is like you're bored. Okay, well, everything demands action. Everything. Like that is what's going to reap results is action, action, action. That's what I always say. So flip that and start healthy habits, right? So like go to a gym, start journaling, write a gratitude list, start reading a book that might interest you. I have clients do 10,000 steps a day walks outside, weather permitting.
Yes.
Everything in the beginning is just, again, to lay that foundation and to stay out of our head, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, boredom, absolutely. But at the same time, it's, how bad do you want this? There's lots of stuff to do if we smash our ego and say, I'm going to keep an open mind, I'm going to go try this. And I get it. Boredom, they
Yeah.
say, is, I forget the statistics, but it's one of the number one things where people are just like, they lie to themselves and they say, I just go to the bar and have a club soda. It's like, nah, not right now. You're lying to yourself, bro.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was me for so many years
Yeah.
because you're addicted to the chaos. But again, you have
Mm-hmm.
to, I have individuals journal a lot because I truly believe there's nothing more powerful than a pen to paper. For
Yes,
me at
I
least,
agree.
there's just something, and that pen was the heaviest thing that I'd ever have to lift up in my life.
Yeah.
Because now I really have to like look at myself and my feelings and stuff like that. So boredom just has to be replaced with healthy habits, and we
Yes.
don't have to complicate it. Pick up a
Yeah.
basketball, go shoot hoops. Like it's,
Yeah.
like mine became the gym,
Yeah.
and it wasn't
Yes.
even
Yeah.
about becoming big and ripped. It
Mm-hmm.
was I like idle hands are the devil's work. I have to stay busy,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that boredom too is the mind's way of tapping into creative flow. And that's what I
Mhm.
just heard was journaling, reading a book,
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Miyamoto Musashi?
I've definitely heard, yeah, but I've never read any of the philosophy.
Yeah, so he's a 17th century samurai, a Japanese swordsman.
Yeah.
And he even knew that he could not stay in that warrior energy, which is that chaos, like that
Yeah.
fight, flight. He couldn't
Yeah.
stay in warrior energy all the time. And when he
No.
was in that creative flow, he was a poet. He wrote a
Yeah.
book, oh, a few
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
and painted as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that still comes down to the identity shift, right? Are
Mm-hmm.
you bored or are you scared to try this? That's what I
Ah,
always
good
have people
one.
ask themselves as well too is you're
Yeah.
bored, but again, the actionable step that you need to do, let's peel it back
Yeah.
again and is this you're in fear to do this, right? Or you're too
Yeah.
cool to do this or people will
Mm-hmm.
make fun of me, right? So again, that's
Yeah.
where the journaling comes down, that's where the coaching comes down because humans are like an onion, right? It's like oh no, like whenever somebody says like I'm good, it's like yeah, well, what's really going on? Especially in the beginning, there's always something going on. You got to
Yes.
peel that back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I actually and that's the video I just shared on my story too was that it's okay not to be okay. Like
yeah,
and I
yeah.
really
Like
really like that.
we feed these negative narratives, but I always have people approach it as why is this a negative, right?
Mhm.
Like so for me, 2 years ago, I lost a 6-figure salary job in the restaurant industry, right? And I thought my life was over. Oh my God, like what am I gonna do? Like I finally
Mm-hmm.
made it to a position and a title that I've been working hard towards. It was a great restaurant, it was well known, all these things. But the truth of it is if the universe God were to come down and say, hey Mikey, I have to remove this job from you, okay? But in return, I'm
Yes.
gonna replace it with this new version of yourself, and you're gonna do
Mm.
X, Y, Z. Is that okay with
Yeah.
you? I'd be like, well, yeah, 100% it is. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
the fear. That's all
Yeah.
that we're so many humans that I speak to, Rhonda. It's very unfortunate. And I'm speaking to myself too. When I see these individuals going
Yes.
through it, it's just if you could just see past the fear, if you could just
Oh,
crush that limited
yes.
belief and
Yeah.
take this blind leap of faith, you have no idea the power that you have in yourself, right?
Yes, I absolutely love that. And that's what they say is success is just on the other side of fear.
Yeah, yeah,
But as
absolutely.
humans, we don't like to feel uncomfortable, and in the
No,
uncertainty, that is a
yeah.
terrifying place to be.
It is, and it's a safety mechanism within humans,
Yeah.
right? That fight or that
Hmm.
flight. So it's always going to
Yeah.
try to push you back into that comfort zone. And there's recovery
Hmm.
slang, as we call it, is kind of go against the grain and stuff like that.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it is. I mean, the only like me when I first started doing social media, I'm sure everyone that I speak to can attest to this. Is like, oh, I was so embarrassed, I was so scared, and but then you get more comfortable. You grow into your voice. You become I don't
Yeah.
want to say become your authentic self because you are, but you're learning how to project that. Because I will take this phone to some of the we'll call them toughest guys that I know, and I'll turn the camera around on them and say something. No way, man. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. It's
And
true. Yeah.
so again, I had to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I was like, if I
Yeah.
want to do this, like again, how bad
Hmm.
do I want this? And I don't know if I'm a natural at it today. I always remain teachable and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and
It's
learn,
so
but
true.
yeah, and that's anything in life, right?
Yeah, like there's a saying that practice isn't something that you do when you're good. It's something you
Yeah.
do to get good.
Hmm.
And your first video is going to be your worst video. And I still I'm fearful too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get that camera and I start making content and I'm like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
take 40, take
A
40.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's once we realize, like, I have a saying that I tell myself is like, Mike, you're not that important. I could post something, and
Yeah.
literally on social media, so many people, Rhonda, are just like in this mode, and they're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
because everyone is in their own heads.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone is kind of funny because everyone thinks that everyone is looking at them, but we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, wow, like this
Yeah,
is
but the
crazy.
social media platform though, it is a kind of a scary place because
100%.
like if you go to an event and you speak in front of let's just say 100 people, but I mean this is
Yeah.
the potential to speak in front of like hundreds of thousands of people if possibly
Oh
not
yeah.
even millions. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked at my numbers. It's part of it. It's not about the
mhm,
numbers for me, but I'd like
mhm.
how do I say this? I don't validate myself by the numbers today. It is what it
No,
is.
you can't. Oh God, no.
No. But what I like is if I get more reach, I hopefully get more impact. So I mean, I've got close to
Yeah.
1 million views this month. Like that's 1 million
Wow.
people. That's a
Yeah, good
lot
for
of
you.
people,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that never would have happened if I didn't show up for myself in the beginning, right? Nothing happens
So
unless you
true.
start to show up. And
Yeah.
it's so scary for everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I did hear you say that you left a six-figure serving, like a hospitality industry.
Yeah, I was in the restaurant industry more or less
Hmm.
altogether probably 15 years. I've been in customer service for my whole working career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, being that I'm no stranger to that myself, I
Yeah.
know what kind of a lifestyle comes with that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
that can be doing, drinking and doing cocaine wee
Oh,
hours of the night, if not
yes.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
when did things start to go sideways for you?
So here's the thing. I lived in an area called Windsor, Ontario. I had been to the rehab there. I'll
Mhm.
just give you a quick backlog. I got out of
Mm-hmm.
there and I went into a sober living house for 2 years. I was
Mm-hmm.
in there, and
Yeah.
it was tough. It was tough for me when I came out. Windsor is a very blue collar community. It didn't really
Yes.
have. It has restaurants, but the hiring wasn't as big as in a city like Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was humbling for me. My dad, God
Mm-hmm.
bless him, he just said, like, you're done, Mike. Like, we can't just give you $100 here and there anymore. Like, you got to figure this out, bro. You're 35 years old now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, I was on social assistance, um, you know, and it was tough. I had roommates that passed away from overdoses.
Mm.
I saw
Yeah.
people constantly coming in and out of that house because they were relapsing and being kicked out. Um, and then from there, I had eventually moved out and we had started, it's called a social enterprise. It's like a nonprofit, but we had started a
Mm-hmm.
coffee shop for individuals that got out of recovery homes or jail for like a safe place to come and connect. And that did really, 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 really well. So that period, I was out of the restaurant industry. Then I came back to Toronto, and
Mm-hmm.
COVID was still happening. But I was just like, I know if I don't make a move, like the shops closed down, it just is what it is. I have to continue to keep moving forward. So I came back
Mm-hmm.
here, and I knew people in the industry and some guys that were partners in bars, restaurants, and yeah, I took a management position at
Okay.
probably one of the busiest bars in Toronto, definitely on the busiest corner. And,
Mm-hmm.
with that, I had been living in Windsor for 5 to 6 years. So when I came back to Toronto and I get this position and your management and you have the ability to let people in and kind of give people
Mm-hmm.
shots, ego came with that for me. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I was, the street that we run on all these bars and restaurants in Toronto, one of the main streets is called King Street West. So I can more or
Mm-hmm.
less hop from any bar and you all the managers, all the bouncers. I call it Goodfellas syndrome. Like I didn't
Oh,
wait in a,
yes.
yeah, I didn't wait in a line. I was given shots normally, like very well taken care of because we always say we take care of the people in the industry, right? And we would do the
Mm-hmm.
same, and it just got completely out of hand again.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was removed from that job, and they owned another restaurant, so God bless them, they put them up there, or put me
Mm-hmm.
up there, and it just, you take yourself with you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I brought my habits with me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's when the company you keep and that's your normalcy, you don't see anything else. Like you're
That's
like,
correct. Yeah.
I'm completely fine. What do you mean? Like doing bumps till 5 a.m. on a Tuesday? That's normal. Like
Yes.
everyone's doing
Is
that. And the truth is no, not everyone's doing it. Yeah, and it came to a point to me, Rhonda. I was in a club that
okay.
my buddy was a bar manager at, and treated like a king. And we had the bottle service, and people were around me, and you're shaking the hands and all that stuff. And I looked
Mm-hmm.
around, and I don't even call it a spiritual moment, call it whatever you want. It's like I just looked around the room, and I was like, there's 300 people in here. I have people surrounded with me. I have money in my pocket. I have Coke in my
Mm-hmm.
pocket. I have bottles here. I've never felt so lonely in my life.
Mm.
And that was
Yeah.
it. I don't even know how to explain it. My feet just started moving. And I walked out of that club. I came home, took my dog for a
Mm-hmm.
huge walk, and I went ghost. I got rid of social
Wow.
media. I just went completely ghost because I had already lost the job. So I really
Yeah.
had no responsibility. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm either going to do this or I'm not. And in order to do
Yeah.
this, I just have to leave with no
Yeah.
explanation. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I spent
Yeah.
6 months. I still do the same thing every day, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where it started. So,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
And how did you end up in Vancouver though? Because you're in Vancouver now, are you not?
I'm in Toronto, yeah, but I was in Vancouver for a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years. So I had stepped away
Mm.
from the restaurant industry and I got into just like retail sales. And I did
Okay.
really well with the company. And they were growing very rapidly within the Canadian market. And I had gone to a few other locations to open up stores.
Okay.
I was always good with people. I could talk to people, I could sell. I liked clothing. I was kind of a fashionable
Mm-hmm.
guy myself, so it
Mm-hmm.
just fit. And I was there, and not too long after, they said we're opening up stores in Vancouver, and would you like to be part of
Ah,
that process? And I
yep,
said, yeah,
yep,
absolutely. So I went out there and I worked there for a while, and then yeah, that was a nightmare at the end.
yep.
That's where my drug of choice switched from cocaine to crack cocaine, and
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely I didn't get to a point where I've seen a lot of people get, and I mean they'll unfortunately rob and steal and just do whatever it takes. Because I
Mm-hmm.
was a binger. I would get my paycheck and I would go down to East Hastings, smoke as much as I could, but I don't know if it was subconsciously, morally, values. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. And then I would get into
Yep.
psychosis. So I was just like, I gotta get the
Ah,
fuck out of
yes.
here. And
Yep.
that's it. And then I would sleep for 4 days and make an
Yep.
excuse to work, right? So
Yeah,
that
because.
ended.
Mm-hmm.
Called my parents, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
completely honest. And my parents
Mm-hmm.
being who they are, my dad was just like, okay, like we're putting you on a plane right now. You've got to get back
Oh,
to
thank
Ontario.
God. Thank God. Because,
Yeah,
East Hastings is probably one of the most dangerous places to go and smoke crack for 12
it was
hours,
wild. Yeah, it was
Wow. Yeah.
completely wild. Like I can't
Yeah.
even fathom, that I went through that process. And
Yeah.
part of my journey as well too is I don't think people realize, for me at least, is like some of the places that you go in your addiction, they're
Mm-hmm.
traumatizing as it is. You got to work
Oh,
through that.
yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
putting trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. It's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of unpacking to do, right? So I always say,
Yeah.
by the grace of God, I was able to have parents that were still at that point willing to say, like, okay, like, let's go. And when I came back to Ontario, crack wasn't really prevalent, and I always
Yeah.
considered cocaine to be like this high class social drug. So I just
Mm-hmm.
fell right back into that. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
that funny how the like cocaine is kind of considered like the elite's drug, right? The America's cup of coffee and
Yeah.
and the thing
Yeah.
is like, and how does that experience being down on East Hastings and binging on crack cocaine, like how does that, what's the understanding? What would you want people to understand about addiction? Cuz here's a guy in the hospitality industry with like
Mm,
high rollers making good
yeah.
money that now all of a sudden is down on East Hastings smoking crack. Like, what do you want people to understand about that?
It's not the addiction, it's the pain. If they call it
Mm,
Hastings in Pain for a reason,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
Hastings in Maine, but it's called Hastings in Pain. And that's all that it
yeah,
is, right? Like I have a lot of empathy because I've been there, and I don't walk past a person that's homeless and say, what a fucking
yeah.
bum. It's like I see a future success there, right? And,
Ah,
the individual
yes.
has to be able to want to help themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
look at the world now that we're in with, I guess, these drugs of opiates and fentanyl. They're physically dependent on this stuff. Like
Yes,
they're not. A lot of the individuals aren't even doing it to get high anymore. They just don't want to be dope sick. So
yes.
that comes with its own challenges. But especially on
Mm-hmm.
East Hastings, heroin is massive. But you want to know the honest truth is, I was just lost.
Yeah.
It's not that I wanted to die, but I didn't want to live. I was just
Mm,
I was just tired of the way that my
yeah,
head went. I couldn't stand it. I just couldn't.
yeah.
I thought I was mental, that I needed to be locked up. I just didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
why this overthinking, and the way that, like, I analyze and view things and go in these
Mm-hmm.
I would make up scenarios in my head that I was going to get fired from my job, and it was like,
Mm,
why do I think like this, right? And it was hard
yes.
because trying to hold a relationship, let's say with a girlfriend or even at work or with anybody, like you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly worried about, like, what do they think of me? How do I act?
Yeah,
What do I
yeah,
do? So you want to be numb all the time, right?
yes,
Meanwhile, you make
yeah,
an ass out of yourself when you're pissed drunk and high on coke anyways, but you don't care because you're
yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah. And I
mean,
really, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say Hastings to me is Sure, is it an epidemic? Absolutely. Do I agree
Yeah.
necessarily with everything that they do down there?
Hmm.
No, but at the same time, it hopefully is going to help certain people and some people. It's just,
Ah,
again, it's the
yes.
way that we look at it in society. I mean, there's a doctor,
Yeah.
Gabor Mate, I'm sure you're familiar with. He's done
Yes.
amazing work down there, and he's spoken to people that left East
Hmm.
Hastings in recovery homes, went back into society,
Hmm.
and someone gets wind of their past, and they just fucking drag this person through the mud. Well, where do you think they run to?
Yeah.
They run back to
Yeah.
East Hastings because that's where they find their love, their
Yeah.
community, and they don't trust that anymore, right? So people
Yeah.
hate what they don't understand, and the ignorance is they don't want to understand.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that the truth, right?
yeah,
They hate what they don't understand. I like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gabor Mate does incredible work, right? I bring
Oh,
him into my sessions a lot as well.
yeah,
And actually
he's
that
incredible.
Fritzy Horseman, the Step Inside the Circle, that's the Compassion Prison Project, which I do believe Gabor Mate has some influence in that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that and look at that. Thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up.
Yeah. And, and the thing is, I really liked what you said about now I have so much empathy and compassion for those people that are down there because you're absolutely right. Like, they didn't just wake up one morning and look in the mirror and say, oh, I'm going to be smoking crack on East Hastings today. It's a
No,
slow downward spiral.
right.
And they all have stories. They all have a
Absolutely.
story.
And I believe that everybody is deserving. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how far down you are gone,
Hmm.
everybody is deserving. And who am I to
Yeah.
say, like, you're just a write off? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's inhumane to me, right? But again,
Hmm.
we'll get a little deeper here. Society itself, it is what it is, but most
Hmm.
people are selfish and self centered. I believe that there
Oh,
has to be
yeah.
a healthy selfishness, but these
Hmm.
individuals point a finger without knowing anything,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And that's where the stigma
Hmm.
comes in. But meanwhile, like, trust me, I've worked with a lot of families. This isn't
Hmm.
a neighborhood geographical thing. I've
No,
worked with
no, it isn't.
millionaires' kids that are fucked on
Yes.
opiates, and they started going to get
Yes.
Percocets because of a hockey injury, and now they're shooting heroin.
Exactly. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah.
exactly right when you say everyone has a story, right? And
Yes. Yeah. And
yeah,
they do, and I've read that time and time again too, where a lot of addiction actually starts in the medicine cabinet in the parents'
yeah,
bedroom, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it starts even before that, I believe. Why do
Hmm.
people go out and drink every single weekend? Why do people need a
Mm.
drink when they go on a date, when they go anywhere socially? 9 out of 10 of
Yes.
those people cannot face that on their own,
Yeah.
right? So I look at alcohol as two things. It's medication or celebration. And
Ah,
there's not that many celebrations going on every weekend, I don't believe. So you're medicating a lot of people. There's a lot that can
so
go for a
true.
beer and chill out and no problem.
Mhm.
But, I've also come across a lot of individuals that you ask them to go to a social setting and they wouldn't be able to, right?
Yes.
So are
Yeah,
they
it's
a
so
bad
true.
person? No. But in reality,
Yeah.
they're suffering with the exact same thing as the individual that's suffering shooting heroin on Hastings, but they
Yeah.
compare instead of identify. It's ego,
So true. Wow, I love
right?
that. And I
Yeah.
spent 15 years in the oil field.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah. And
Yeah.
there it's like it's a brotherhood and I always
Yeah.
said like if the consequences are not celebrated, then they're
Yeah.
tolerated.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Everybody's drinking and doing coke, and that's just
Mhm.
part of being part of the crew. It's sad, and a lot of like upper management, like project management and whatnot, they know what's going on. They know
Oh,
exactly
absolutely.
what's going on if they're not even
Yeah.
part of it, and
Yeah.
everybody just turns a blind eye. Meanwhile, their home life is falling apart, falling apart.
Yeah. And that's the social mask that a lot of people like to portray,
Yeah,
right?
social
I call
mask.
it high functioning individuals that are, I'm very
Hmm.
blunt, but they're just completely lost.
Yeah.
I know a lot of individuals that
Mhm,
spend nights at home and they can't.
mhm.
because the silence kills them. When that door
Yeah.
locks and there's nothing else, there's no one else to impress, and they're by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
they can't, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're out every single night drinking. It's a lot of
Yeah.
it isn't a booze problem. It's an us problem, and not necessarily a
Yeah.
problem. Sorry, but it's stuff that we
Yep.
need to work through, and a lot of individuals are unwilling
Mm-hmm.
to um, excuse me, work through that. Because for me, it's like
Mm-hmm.
an individual calls me per se, and they make 100K a year. They have a nice condo, they have a nice car, they go on vacation. Well, if you try to tell them the outcome of their life is going to benefit, well, they're looking at it transactional. So am I going to
Mm.
make
Yeah.
10x more in my money? It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
you probably would, but I can't show you that. And how do you show somebody what it's like to not live in fear, have peace,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
authentic, right? And that's where people stay in that fear because we're so trained to
Mm-hmm.
be transactional. And that's where materialism comes in as well, right? Oh, if I
Yeah.
buy this,
Yeah.
I'll be this. Well, you're not your title.
Mm-hmm.
You're not your Gucci purse. You're not
Yeah.
the G Wagon that you drive. And if you let
Yeah.
that be your identity, I'm sorry, this isn't a debate. You're lost. You are,
Yes.
right?
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And even if it's not about the alcohol and the drugs, I see a lot of people get into cross addiction too, where now
Yeah.
it's like shopping addictions and
Yeah.
and like you said, that whole Gucci, the Gucci wardrobe and the
Yeah.
G wagon and stuff. So again, it's just filling this void.
Yeah, and I call it podium syndrome. So a lot of people will
Mm-hmm.
come into recovery, and I love it. They go into the gym, they do these 75 hards and run marathons, and
Mm-hmm.
amazing, amazing that you've knocked that out. But
Mm.
you're still making it about you. And I think the switch
Ah.
fully goes off. I find, at least in my experience,
Mm-hmm.
when you're able to share your experience with somebody else. You don't have to be an
Yeah.
addictions counselor, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I'm going to start a run club, or I'm going to share about. No, everyone wants to share the end result. Nobody wants to share. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
share the beginning. Like I smoked
Yes.
crack on East Hastings. I was a mess. I've had suicide attempts. I've been in trouble with the law. And
Mm.
that's just the
Yeah.
reality of it is. You can hate me,
Yeah.
take me, or leave me. It doesn't matter. This is my truth and I
Yes.
live in it today, right? But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I want you to know that you're not alone. That's simply it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas individuals, they're like, oh, I relapsed again. And it's like, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I was going to the gym. I was eating healthy. Yeah, but you were doing
Yeah.
that to fill your ego still, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it is. It takes a lot of work and I mean I was a chronic
Mm-hmm.
relapser for 20 years, so I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Like it's still you got to show up. But I really
Yeah,
like what you said though about how it kind of is still kind of remains about them, like that selfish, that ego
right.
driven thing. So let's go into kind of like that self-care for you, Mike. Like you personally, like, how do you balance sharing that raw, hard-hitting truths with
Uh,
protecting your kind of your personal well-being too and not getting caught back up in it?
I believe that comes down to you when you're on the internet,
Mhm.
you're exposing yourself and you have to
Mm.
go in knowing.
Yeah.
There's individual I could show DMs that I get and comments that I get of like
Mhm.
what like it would break some people, and I'm not saying that to gloat, but it's
Yeah.
horrible the way that people talk to individuals. I believe that
Mm.
I'm comfortable with who I am today. So when
Yes.
I'm no different off camera than I am on camera.
Mhm.
So I have
Yeah.
nothing to protect. I have nothing to hide. And that's where I
Mhm.
keep my energy, right? Like I balance is something that it's difficult because
Mm.
balance for me at least is it will keep me stuck. I was a hardcore partier. I'm hardcore into this, right? But
Ah.
in saying that, I have a routine that I haven't
Mhm.
dropped in over 2 years now where I keep myself grounded. Like I
Ah.
identify with, you want to call them character defects. Fear never
Mhm.
goes away. Self
No.
pity can still come in. I can just
Mhm.
quiet it really quick today because I can see my part, and I do that by journaling, right? I do
Yeah.
a nightly reflection every day. Who was Mike today?
Mm.
How was Mike today? Was Mike an
Yeah.
asshole today? Did Mike cause harm to people? Was Mike reactive? Because
Mm.
it's not anyone else. I don't have control over
Mm-hmm.
what somebody sends me. I have control over
Yeah.
how I deal with it. And I
Right.
make sure that I keep that in check. So I guess to answer you
Mm-hmm.
is it's a lot when it's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah, you get to work for yourself. And, we got to go to
Mm-hmm.
on a trip to Sicily and, my
Yeah.
wife and I
Beautiful.
can go for a lunch when we want. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody fully sees the full transparency of what happens behind the scenes. I mean, this is like 12, 15, 16-hour days. This is people messaging me at
Mm.
2 in the morning sometimes. But I have to answer it, I guess, I had to learn healthy no's. So, no.
Yeah.
Right at 2 in the morning, if I'm sleeping and you're drunk and you're messaging me because you want help, that can wait till the morning. I'm sorry.
Ah,
Because
yes.
in the morning,
Yeah.
when I speak to you, chances are you're not going to want the help anymore, right?
Ah,
So it's
yes.
it's difficult, but I have to tell myself and remind myself, Rhonda, is like I can't save anyone, and I don't wear this cape because I'll lose myself in the process, right? And
Bingo.
it's
Yes.
it's it's difficult, but that's where I say
Mm-hmm.
you need a healthy selfishness. So anything that
Yes.
causes me peace and freedom today, it's gone. I don't care
Okay.
if it's a friend, if it's a job, not necessarily a
Mm-hmm.
client, but I'm aware of the atmospheres that I put myself in. I'm aware of where I put my energy today. And I'm
Yes.
aware of if I go into this place and it feels like I just don't vibe with it, I just leave.
Mm-hmm.
You don't owe
Yes.
anybody an explanation. Like my people pleasing was at an all-time high before. I'm conscious of that
Mm-hmm.
today. Here's the
Yeah.
boundaries. And I'm not willing to cross that anymore. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely want to yell that from the rooftops because,
Yeah.
I think that caregiver archetype, there's a shadow side to that. And that is like
100%.
helping people. Yeah, we
Yeah.
help people to the verge of burnout,
Yeah, and
and
that can
then,
become your identity too, right? And
oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
it can't. It's
Yeah.
and it's difficult because you want to
Hmm.
help everybody, right?
You
I think
do.
it takes a
Yeah.
very empathetic person in order to want to do
Hmm.
this and want to take the time and understand.
Yeah.
And you've done phone calls before, you've spoken with people. Like I'll do 2, 3 phone calls on a day with clients. I'm
Hmm.
wiped. Just I'm
Done. Yes.
emotionally I'm
Yeah.
drained. And that's where like I'm
Hmm.
transparent with my wife and I'm like, let's just go for a walk. I always deal with it with going for a walk with my dog.
Oh,
That's
I
it.
love that. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
got to fill your cup. Yeah, like
You
that
do?
old adage again. I always like these old
Yeah.
adages about, serving
Yeah.
from the saucer when your cup is overflowing. But
Yeah.
I just have to share a little story with you too, and because that was one of my questions is how do you set rigid boundaries with your clients so that you don't have those phone calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? And I
Yeah.
had a individual that was kind of more of a friend, a work
Mm.
acquaintance, and he was calling me late at night, 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I wouldn't answer it because I'm
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah.
And and then the next day I actually offered him a package in my therapy sessions which was for free,
Mm.
and
Yes.
they actually got a little bit defensive because they felt like they just didn't need the therapy, but yet they don't mind
Yeah.
calling me at 11:30. But the
Yeah.
thing was, we lost him, right?
Oh,
We lost him just a few days later. So I was in this like horrible guilt, like, oh, I
right.
shoulda, coulda, woulda, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But you
Yeah.
know what? I had to chase that out of my mind because I am not responsible for
No.
a person who does not want the help and then just wants to drunk dial you, right? Like it-
No.
it's
And
unfortunate, but
it is. I mean, I have a tattoo, JC, and it's very, very
mm,
similar. An individual that I know, she was trying to get a hold of me, and I was drinking. I was just like, you're all good.
mm,
Like, don't worry about it. And,
yeah,
the circumstances weren't that the next day.
yeah,
And she's no longer
yeah,
with us, right? But
yeah.
for me,
Sorry.
to answer your question, Rhonda, is I deal with that with honesty, like I do everything today.
Yeah.
And it's not my responsibility how you take it. I'm not delivering it
Mm.
rude, but it's just,
Yeah.
hey, Bob, here's the honesty. And I don't dance around. I hit it
Yeah.
first, right? So the I need, like, here's the times that are set up. And if you need help, especially if somebody's like they're not committing, well,
Mm-hmm.
I can't want this more than you, dude. Like, I can't, I have
Mm.
individuals that have called me two, three, four, five times, wasted, or every Sunday
Yeah.
morning when they're coming down off a cocaine bender. And it's like,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
just tell them honestly, look, man, your priority is not sobriety. And until it is, I can't do anything.
Ah, I
Right?
like that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it took me a long time to get to that point
Yeah.
because I felt like I was being an asshole.
Yeah.
But I believe there's a saying as well too, is like, I'd rather stand on your toes than stand over your grave, right?
Ah,
So I'm going to be
yes.
honest with you, or I'm going to enable you. And to baby the addict
Mm.
is to bury the addict, right? The whole life and the individuals that are around, especially whether
Mm-hmm.
you're drinking or anything, that all those friends that you call friends, you're just enabling each other. There's not one honest
Mm.
person in that group in that respect that can say, fuck, man, like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here, right? So
Yeah.
again, you hire me as a coach. You're not hiring me to be a friend. You're hiring me to hold you accountable and be honest with you and to share my
Yeah.
experience. And it's
Yeah.
not tough love. I'm not an asshole. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's, do you want this or do you not? If you can't journal
Yes.
once a day, but you could go score
Yeah.
crack, come on. Like, this is a fair
Yeah.
trade off, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's just it, right? You can drag a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And
No,
they have to want it. Like, and that's why I think working with clients too, you got to really get to their whys. Like, why do you want this?
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and a lot of the
absolutely.
times I don't even accept answers that are like, "Oh, I want to be a better father, or a better mother, or a better wife, or a better." I'm like, "Yes, that's important. I get
Yeah,
that, but it has to be about you.
100%.
Why do you
Yeah,
want this?
love that.
Because they'll always go into
Yeah.
this people pleasing thing again.
Yeah, or I mean, people will come and talk to me, full blown
Mm.
alcoholics or have a coke problem, and 2 weeks into working with me, they're not. They got it all
Mm.
figured out because everything's
Oh
calm now,
yes,
right? So they
yes,
manipulated their way out of this once again,
yeah.
and it's okay.
Mm.
Like, I'm not here to alarm anybody, but the 60, 90-day mark in recovery is more dangerous than the first 30 days because the first 30 days, you got the gift of desperation. You have the
Yes.
willingness. And if that starts to fade over time, that
Hmm.
lie will come in and it's going to tell you it's reward time. The money's good.
Oh
Oh,
yes,
right. I can just go and have one beer. What's one beer?
yeah.
And it just, it doesn't, it just doesn't, you can't beat the game. The house always wins. It's that saying
Yeah.
surrender to win, right? And
Yeah.
it's step one, if we're talking about the steps, is like, that's really the only step you got to get right, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you
I
got to be honest with
really,
yourself.
really like that. I love what you said about the first 30 days is the desperation
Yeah.
because at our facility, it's not just mandated. Like some guys are there on bail. So
Yeah.
there's a release order, but we do have self admits, and the self admits are the hardest ones to get to stay
Yeah.
because the 30 days is desperation. And I could almost set my calendar to it, but within about 2 months, they're like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm out of here. I've got this. And they don't.
No. And there's,
No.
especially, throughout my journey around, anonymous meetings and recovery and whatnot
Hmm.
is, there's three words that none of us should say, and I got this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and the smartest man in the room knows nothing. Like, I have to, I can't be naive. That's why I say every day is day one. I can't live off of yesterday's wins and successes. Today is going to
Hmm.
present new challenges, new
Yeah.
obstacles, and I don't know, right? So I would rather
Hmm.
be prepared than just caught off guard. It's,
Right.
yeah, you don't have to be that warrior all the time per se, but I think awareness is a massive gift today, and it's like, to have that
Yeah.
awareness, say like, hey, something's just kind of feeling off today. I got to take 5 minutes to myself and dial in on this. Like, that's the most
Hmm.
powerful thing. I think I was never able to do that before, and especially as
Yeah.
a man, as the male ego. We
Hmm.
all say, "Oh, I got this."
Mm. Yeah.
I
Isn't
don't
that
think
the
you do,
truth?
bro, because your actions
Yeah.
don't show that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do, right? I can
Yeah.
manipulate my way out anything. I was a fucking
Yeah.
dealing with drugs for 20 years, man. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
do what you did today? I got smart feet. That's, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
One thing too, I wanted to talk about, like what you think about, you bring about. Now,
yeah,
I do realize that, at recovery centers, especially at ours, because there's
yeah,
a jail mentality, there's a
yeah,
lot of war stories.
yeah,
And we try to curb the war stories because it triggers a lot of people.
sure,
But I also believe that there's a certain level of sharing that actually kind of builds rapport and safety in the room. Because
yeah,
I share, I might even be an oversharer when I talk about my past,
yeah,
right? But I do realize though that some of the war stories is kind of trauma bonding and they kind of glorify that type of behavior. What is
yeah.
your take on that?
Well, you said it. Well, when it comes into glorifying, like, I, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but this is just my experience. I stepped away from anonymous meetings
Hmm.
because the message became that. And I
Ah,
understand that you need to share that, but we had
hmm,
an expression where it was like, if you're 2 years sober, like you can't come in and puke on the table. You like this is about the new guy, man. Like you can say
ah,
to identify, like, hey man, yeah,
hmm,
absolutely. Like, I used to max my credit card out and not pay rent because I do blow instead. But today,
yeah,
right? So I think
yeah,
for sure, if there's a solution that's followed up with it, absolutely. But
hmm,
me personally, I think those are for like here's what it is. The past is the past. It's done. We've
yeah,
all done stupid things or things that we're not proud of, right? But it's the pain that's relatable, right? We
hmm.
call them inventories, I guess, and
Yes,
whatnot.
yeah.
But it's the pain that is the connection with that, right?
Mm,
So
mhm.
not what you did. Why did you do this? Like you said,
Yep,
where's the why, right? Like, oh, I
yep,
robbed people and I did this and I did that. Yeah, but that's old thinking. That's old mentality. That's ego, bro.
mhm.
Why were
Yep.
you doing this? Right? So
Mhm.
there's always I call it the underbelly of the individual is what's your motive? Why were you doing all this? Right? And
Yep.
really and truly is like when you find this and somebody comes to a point, I call it like a breaking point, is you're speaking to their, I'll just say like their inner child.
Mhm.
It's like everyone's got this little person inside of them, I think, still that we're trying to
Yes.
protect, and we're masking it with, oh, I used to
Mhm.
carry a gun and I did 7 years in the pen, and hey, I get that, and I'm
Yep.
not taking that away from you, and I'm not
Mhm.
taking, that, but if you want to continue that, that's the image, but there's a
Mhm.
real you in there somewhat, all right? So I think it's powerful, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's how much, right? Like if I'm a new
Yep.
guy and I just keep going into a meeting and I just hear war stories, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck? This is recovery? He's
Yes.
gonna run out of the room, right?
Yep.
So when I was within the fellowships or the anonymous meetings, like, like I guess call me whatever you want, I was a big booker. I took people through the 12
Mhm.
steps, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was just like, hey man, like there's a solution in here. Let's get all this shit out and then you go help others. That's what it's about, man.
Yep. To
Right?
be of
Because
service.
yeah,
Yep.
to be of service, and that's, no
Mhm.
one's saying like to be of service is you have to do what I do or you do and put your life out on
Mhm.
social media and kind of air and all the shit that you did. It's just
Yep.
being of service can simply just be
Mhm.
just smiling at someone in today's society. It's being like at
Yeah.
Starbucks, hey, how you doing? How's your morning going?
Yep.
Everyone is in a rush to go, especially in Toronto. Everyone's in a rush to go
Mhm.
nowhere.
Oh, well,
right?
everywhere. I feel like that's
Yeah,
just society now, but
yeah. But
yeah,
no, I
because
mean the glorifying, it's normal, I think, in the beginning, right? Because people come
it
in
is. Yeah.
with the bravado.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's our ego, right? Because there was a time where I was like, "Oh my god, my story's way too big.
yeah,
No one's
no,
going to understand me." And
yeah,
then I started meeting more individuals that now is like, "Oh, my story's way too small. Like nobody
yeah,
cares." And
yeah,
and that's the ego again. That's just trying to keep us safe, right? From telling our
yeah.
story. But it was because you told your story that we're here right now.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
but when listening to someone or sharing, it's in hopes that they're not going to compare, they're going to identify, right? So once
Yeah.
again, it's like whether you, I don't know, whatever your solution was, if you were a criminal and then you got into drugs, or you just, you were a people pleaser and got in with the wrong crowd, your
Yeah.
identity is going to be behind, I believe, on what
Mhm.
caused this. You're both going to, I guarantee,
Mhm.
live in limited beliefs of fears, of not feeling accepted. There could be
Mhm.
abandonment stuff that's going on as well too, right? And that's what
Yep.
caused, that was the solution to all of this, right? You just created chaos to cover it.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think if it's directed in the right way, I mean, I have clients as well too, and it's the same thing in the beginning. It's,
Mhm.
oh, I did this, I did that. It's almost a
Yep.
subconscious way, I think, of them telling themselves, like, I'll never get out of this. It's like
Ah, that's a good
you're not
point
that
too.
different, pal.
Yeah.
You're not that
Yeah.
different, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
I love that. So like for the viewers that are listening, if you are stuck in that war stories and
yeah,
just check in with yourself and what's the intention behind it. I know for me it's
mhm.
about building rapport so that I can help these guys open up to me a little bit more.
Yeah,
Because I've heard
absolutely.
so yeah, and I've heard so many of them say that they want counselors or coaches or whatever with lived experience, you know?
Yeah, and that's for me, it's how I gain trust with
Mm,
the individual because I can
yes,
identify,
that
because I
too.
didn't read this in a book, I didn't learn this in a classroom, I fucking live this life,
Yeah.
man. I get it, I
Yes.
know what that is like. And there's we're trying to get out of comfort, but in the beginning, there's comfort there. There's a trust,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
in that regards, I wouldn't call that a glorifying or a
Mhm.
war story, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the old saying of like where I was, how I got here, and what I do today,
Mhm.
right? So if
Yeah.
it's individuals in the beginning, absolutely, they're going to come in and it's, I don't want to be rude and call it trauma dump, but they need to release
Mhm.
this. So in order for them to
That's a good point.
even for them to release that
Yeah.
is powerful.
Mhm.
But for me as a coach, I'm going to direct it in a way of like, you know, okay, and why,
Yeah.
like what do you think led you down that? Like this isn't some big philosophy answer or
Mhm.
question,
Mhm.
philosophical question,
Yeah.
but it's just like, hey man, like, oh, that's where I'll identify. Hey man, for me, like I went down that road
Yeah.
too, but like I was stuck in massive fears, and then it's like, oh,
Mm.
so I
Yeah.
always try to, where's the growth
Yeah.
in this for the individual, I guess I could say. Because if I just sit there and listen
Yeah.
to the horror story and kind of laugh at it, they're just going to be like, people don't know
Mhm.
what they don't know, right? So if we're
Yeah,
not
right.
directing
Yeah.
and coaching and guiding, they're just going to
Mhm.
continue on with the behavior. It's like a child, right?
Yeah, yeah, and courage is vulnerability, like, it's the
Yeah,
vulnerability to share those really ugly parts of ourself and go,
yeah,
"Hey, this is me, this is my life," and because I
yeah.
think that shame is so deeply rooted in
Oh,
individuals as well,
massive,
you know? So
massive.
I think by
Yeah,
sharing and the war stories is a little bit of a way to say, "Hey, me
for
too," you
sure.
know?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
very, very important. Like the first guy that I
yeah,
listened to really when I got some sort of sobriety under my belt was like
mhm,
a big biker in London.
yeah,
And he just was very honest, but he told me a bit of his story, and we had known mutual people, but that was the moment that
mhm,
first time ever in my life that I built some trust to be vulnerable, because I think to be
yeah,
vulnerable you have to you have to be in a trusted place where you feel that you can be vulnerable, because
Yes.
you're not vulnerable in the worlds that we come from. If you show
Yeah.
vulnerability, you're done. Like
Oh,
that.
isn't that the truth?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
you're weak.
Yes.
You can't, these
Yeah.
guys can't be on a range, especially in
Hmm.
California, like a level 4 yard. They're preparing for
Right.
battle every single day. They can't share
Yeah.
about their feelings. So this is
Yeah.
all new to them, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And I found that even in the oil field too with the what I call the good old boys club,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Men that have been indoctrinated, like big boys don't cry, suck it up,
yeah,
And so
100%.
men, I think it's actually the catalyst for the epidemic of mental health in men, like the suicide
Yeah,
rate is because men are afraid to open up. Men are afraid to get help. They
yeah.
look at that as being weak or something, and it's time now we're flipping the switch.
Yeah, and I don't think emotions are a bad thing. Share your
No.
emotions, but at the same time,
Hmm.
learn to understand your emotions. Because you say you're a
Yes.
man, but you're literally freaking out because 2 hours got missed on your paycheck. Like,
Oh, good
do you know what I
point.
mean?
Yes.
Like, so
Yeah.
really, you're just a child that's not getting a toy at Walmart right now. Like, this will be fixed,
Mm.
right? But you're
Yep.
ripping HR's head off. Like, that's a temper tantrum. Like,
So
so when you
true.
say emotions
So
are
true.
weak, look
Hmm.
how you're acting, right?
Yeah.
So it's having individuals look at it from a certain perspective. Most people categorize emotions as like a man bawling his eyes out. It's like, no,
Yes.
it's not always true.
Yeah, it's so true. And I feel like emotional regulation is a big piece in the
Huge.
recovery journey, too, because,
Yeah,
like you said, it's a solution to the pain, and
yeah,
then when you take the painkiller away, what's coming out? All of these really difficult, vulnerable, painful emotions, which
yeah.
which we generally see anger at the top of that iceberg.
Oh, yeah, I had massive
Yeah.
anger issues, and our emotions cloud the truth, right? So when we're in that
Hmm.
anger, that emotional state, we're in a reactive state. We're not responding from a level head,
Hmm.
right? We're
Yeah.
losing our mind, literally, man.
Yeah,
And it's
for
just like,
sure.
and you got to be able to. For me, I even take a while sometimes to like respond to somebody, like
Hmm.
an individual. If they DM me and I don't even know who they are, and they're like, "Oh, you're a piece of shit. I can't believe you're sharing this stuff." It's like there's part of me that wants to react. There's part of me that's
Hmm.
like, this old dog still got fight in him, buddy. Like fucking, what are you talking about? But that's just ego. So it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
I gotta step back. Like, and once again, you gotta. It's only yourself that you can hold accountable in these areas, and I think that's what's
Yes.
super cool and something that I've been able to grow into, and I'm still learning,
Hmm.
right? But
Hmm.
I have the awareness of that today, and to me,
Yeah.
like I don't know, categorize it as being a stable man or however you want. It's just I understand certain
Yeah.
emotions today, and I don't have to run
Yeah.
off and hit somebody or drink a beer or hide from it. I face it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And the impact of transparency
Yeah.
is huge. Like I always tell the guys, like, how are we supposed to unpack any of this if
Hmm.
we don't know what we're dealing with? And that's why I give them all like an anger iceberg and a feelings wheel so
Yeah.
that they can expand, and I know that that's like 101. That's something that, you get when
Yeah.
in cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Right.
again, if you can't expand your vocabulary on how you're feeling, like, oh, I'm just
Hmm.
mad. Okay, well,
Yeah.
what, like,
Yeah.
so just unpacking it. And I think so, yeah, that, oh,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
My
No,
stand fell.
oh, I had a whole backdrop fall on me one time. I had a backdrop to get, yeah, and it knocked my computer off the desk, and
Oh,
it was
really?
oh
Yeah.
god, it was chaos.
Oh, good.
And
We caught
but
it.
the thing is though, that the beautiful part of that again is like these little fupas or whatever you want to call them. Like
Mm.
people have to understand that when you're a content creator, this is what authenticity looks like.
Yeah.
Mike's camera just fell off the stand.
100%. That's why
It's
I
like
like in the beginning when I got into it,
Hmm.
it was very difficult for me because I thought you had to have all these big edits and all this flashy
I
stuff.
yeah,
And I was like, I
yeah,
didn't get in this to be a content creator or like a digital
yeah.
marketer. Like, I just want to share my story. There is a certain way that you have to
Hmm.
present it on social media, I
Yes.
guess, what gets views and whatnot. But
Hmm.
I just keep really short clips and that's it. Like, my videos usually aren't anything long. It's just
Yeah.
a situation that happened in my life
Hmm.
that I believe will be relatable to somebody out there. And that's it. And
Yes.
I post it and there's a gentleman, his name is Rick Rubin, and he's a huge
Oh,
music
yeah, I know
producer.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says anybody that's creating anything, once you create it for yourself. You put it out
Yeah.
there, it's out of your hands.
Hmm.
Wherever it lands,
Yeah.
it's gonna land, right? And that's always stuck with me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I'm in a YouTube master class kind of
Yep.
thing from Sean
Right.
Cannell because I want to learn
Yep.
how to monetize my YouTube channel.
Sure.
And I think this is interview number 26. And
Hmm.
and I do realize like I want to level up my game. Like I mean, I got a bed sheet on the wall. Like
Yeah. Oh, that's all
you know,
right. Most
oh,
people
it
do.
yeah. Oh, but the thing is, when I started out, it was
Yeah. Oh,
perfectionism, like
100%.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so if there's viewers out there right now watching this, just get started because
That's
it's
it.
content over production.
Yeah.
Content over production. Always
Yeah.
remember that. Your
Yeah.
message will land. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it keep like again, it's no one's gonna I don't even remember what I posted 2 days ago. Like no
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's we are in order to grow, we need to get out of our own way. That's it. It's
Yes.
plain and
Yeah.
simple. Now, having to get individuals to get to that point,
Hmm.
that's I don't I don't want to say the difficult part, but that's where people
Yeah.
stay stuck. They're
Yes.
so concerned about what others think about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was me for years. So
Yeah.
it's I
Yeah.
get
It's
it,
so
but
true. And
yeah.
that's why I really loved your reel today too, which I shared on my story. It's really impactful. It was no more being fueled by fear, no more playing small to keep people comfortable,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
no more playing you're okay when you're not. And I think
Yeah.
that those are words to live by, like to live
Yeah.
by.
And it's like I'm human. I'm not exempt
Hmm.
from these. I still have
Yeah.
days, I still have moments where, I
Hmm.
have people that I lean on, right? Like I have
Hmm.
a coach. I've got buddies that have been sober for a long time that I call and it's like, they either
Yeah.
need to call me on my shit or
Yeah.
they help me see my part. I'm just like, bro, like that's your worst problem today, man. Like get over it, dude. Like
Mm.
I had a sponsor once that was every single time that something came up, he'd say you're exactly where you should be. I'd be like, what does that even mean? And then he'd be
Hmm.
like, your action step, go down to detox and talk to a guy in detox. And trust me,
Ah.
that filled gratitude. Not to put the individual down, but it was like that gave me gratitude of like, holy shit, like I remember being there, man. Like wow,
Yeah.
So
Wow,
you're
that's a really powerful tool.
yeah,
Really powerful tool.
right.
Yeah, so now on your social media platform, you do have a link there that sends
Mhm.
us to a website that is True You Transformation,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So that's what I've done now is I have one-on-one coaching with
Mm,
individuals.
okay.
But then I've also started in the coaching world. It's called a low ticket. So it's more of like an entry level. And
Okay.
on that we focus, on limited beliefs, on everything more or less that we spoke about
Ah,
today. So that's going to be
yeah.
launching on July 2nd.
Okay.
And then I also have a link to book a one-on-one call with me. It's a free consultation because at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's like I'm not in this to drive a Lamborghini, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the discovery call as well is to say like, hey, maybe you need something different. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
parents that call me that say, my son's on opiates. Can you help him? I'm not equipped for that.
Ah,
And then they're like,
okay.
we'll pay you
Yeah.
X amount. And I'm like, I can't, no, I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing you no justice. It's not a money thing, man. I just
Uh-huh.
can't. They need something different than I can offer, right? So the discovery
Yes.
call is that's free, and that's exactly what we do is we break
Yep.
down kind of where you're at and where do you want to head. And if we align with each
Hmm.
other and that's awesome, then boom, we go ahead and we
Yeah.
get to work, right?
Yeah. So if a client was to book that discovery call for you and sign up, so what are
Yeah.
some of your action strategies? Like, you don't have to give us your secrets, but
No, no.
at an overall, yeah, like what are your strategies?
So for me as a coach, is your life is most likely if you come in and even if you've stopped drinking for a bit, or you want
Hmm.
to get out of the party life per se, your mind is going to be complicated. So
Hmm.
it's not. So what we want to do is we want to take away. I don't want to give you more stuff. I'm not a big worksheet guy. I work with you
Okay.
like this, just like you and I have. I believe that
Yeah.
true transparency and building that trust with one another, that doesn't happen with me just giving you a binder. But I'll break it down right now. It's an 8-part pillar. Like there's no secret,
Oh, there we go.
right? It's a
Hmm.
lot of the times
Okay.
people won't stick to it. So it's accountability, right?
Hmm.
And then I'm
Hmm.
speaking to you. So we're going to do one-on-one coaching sessions. You're going to have access to me through a WhatsApp or my phone number where we
Hmm.
text, whenever you want.
Hmm.
So it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Like text me. But then what we do is we set the same wake up time every day. We want to build consistency, right? That's
Hmm.
so important in a foundation. Everything is to build
Yes.
this foundation. So it's consistency on a wake up time, whether it's 5 a.m. or 9 a.m. You can pick.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then from there, it is a 45-minute workout, whatever that
Mm.
looks like to you. I do it at home, do
Yeah.
it at a gym, build the
Hmm.
endorphins, right? Start movement, start getting committed.
Yeah.
And it's a healthy habit, right? Then we're going to go
Hmm.
into 10,000 steps, do it on a treadmill, do it on wherever, get
Hmm.
that cardiovascular going as well. That releases good dopamine too. And then you're going to read 10 pages of some sort of positive affirmation book, whether it's a Gabor or, the
Oh.
philosopher that you
Hmm.
mentioned, just
Yeah.
to identify, to get an understanding of this type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're going to write a gratitude list. 3 things. What are you grateful
Yeah.
for, right? We start that because we
Yeah.
want to go into the day. Then we set 3 intentional goals for the day. So the
Hmm.
intentional goals, right? A lot of the times if we don't have a blueprint, we're not going to do. So it's
Yeah.
just getting in a rhythm. And then we do another gratitude list at the end of the night, and we do a journal, a self reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you just
I love it.
it's like you said, the penny turns into the dollar. There's a lot of people that are like,
Hmm.
this is it. This is what I'm paying for.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you question something that you haven't even started yet?
It's so true. Yeah. And,
Right?
and for those viewers too that are like, well, that sounds easy. I could probably just do that on my own. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
a coach, an
Yeah.
accountability coach is
Yeah.
their weight in gold.
Absolutely. And a lot of individuals do say that as like, I can do this to
Hmm.
myself. And my question back is, why haven't you?
Yeah.
And I'm not being an asshole. It's just you got to look at yourself on this, right? Like,
It's so true. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm not here. I can't save you.
Hmm.
I lay out tools for you to look at, and
Yeah.
you have to have the integrity and the honesty. As I always say to people, you're going to get out what you put in. So if you
Yeah.
call me 3 weeks later and you're still going on in your head about something that we just spoke about 2 weeks ago, why does this keep coming up? What's going on?
Yeah.
And usually the honesty is, Rhonda, is I haven't really been dialed in on what you've been asking me to do. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So there's the truth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just it.
Yeah.
Again, it's holding those individuals accountable, right?
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, I mean, even as a therapist, I still have a business coach
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
still go to therapy. I don't do it
yeah.
full time, but every
No,
once in a while I'm like, you know what? I think I better call my therapist and just unload some of this stuff that I'm hanging on to, because
100%.
why? We are a work in progress and that never stops. Ever.
No,
Ever.
absolutely. We always need
Yeah.
somebody to talk to lean on, that one person. Journaling can be part of that, but
Mhm.
there's nothing like human connection, I find,
Yeah, for
personally.
sure.
Yeah.
Are you at liberty to share any real breakthrough moments that you've had with a client? Like obviously no names mentioned, but
Yeah. Hey, I'll be very transparent. I've had clients
Mm-hmm.
that are with me for 2 weeks and I don't hear from them again.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
at first in the beginning when you start this, you kind of take it personal. But the truth of it
you
is it's
do.
like
Yeah.
it's not personal. It's just they're not at that point right now, and then that's is
Mm-hmm.
what it is, right? But the individuals I can confidently say that are working me with me right now. I just posted one on my
Mm-hmm.
story, like this
Oh,
individual, and there's two or three of them that they just show up every day. They don't complicate it. They don't ask why. They just do. And I said
yeah.
that in the beginning. From my experience, just just do it. Like don't think, just do. Don't wonder
Right.
what the journaling is going to do. Allow yourself to have the experience. These guys are on
Mm.
fire right now. Like it's
Yeah.
that's the gift that I get to see. That and I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. They're doing it. It's like it's like I don't have a kid, but it's like I don't know, like you're like a proud father. Like it's just like holy shit, man, to see people like
Yeah.
just come in and be themselves
Uh,
and to where they were in the beginning. One of them
mm-hmm.
works in the oil fields.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you were
Yeah.
talking about that, right? And
Yeah.
big bravado, and the
Mm-hmm.
kindest soul put so much effort and work into this. Called me today just glowing. And you know what
Oh,
he said to me? I'll never forget this. He said, people complicate it, and I think they forget to tell themselves that you can just get up and live life, right? And it was just
yeah.
so simple. Like you just get
Yes.
up and just
Yeah.
just live. Like the point
Yeah.
is like I can complicate a Velcro shoe. We complicate everything.
Yeah.
So the big breakthrough
Yeah.
moments for them is they came in, they were drinking, using,
Mm-hmm.
um, you
Yeah.
know, high functioning, great paying jobs, lost on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for
Yeah.
them to be able
Yeah.
to break down, build that trust,
Mm-hmm.
be vulnerable, and now start building brick by brick by brick, and this was only like 30 days in because they both
Oh,
started
wow.
around the
Good
same
stuff.
time, and,
Yeah.
and that's like, there's progression of where you want to see people. Now it's okay, we're starting to build a good foundation because we'll still continue that into the 60 days. The 90 days is like let's go. Like
Yeah.
where do you see your life? Because a lot of individuals aren't necessarily they do what they do. It's very good money, but they
Yeah.
don't know if that's what they want to continue to do the rest of their life. And that's fearful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with any therapist and our coach, we have to be very careful about having our own personal agendas,
Oh,
right?
100%. You
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Because you get
yeah.
attached, right?
Absolutely you do, and
Mm-hmm.
again, it is difficult because you can't allow your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very desensitized. I don't know if this is a right or wrong thing. I've buried more people than I like to admit. And, I've
Mm.
buried best
Yeah.
friends. I've been with
Yeah.
individuals and, said they were okay that night. And we come back to check, say hi to them and they've overdosed and they're gone. And it's like,
Oh,
what?
gee.
And it's
Yeah.
just, I've just had to learn to accept it. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that I did personally. They always ask
Yeah.
too, is there any guarantees, Mike? And I say, well, the only guarantee that I can guarantee is the service that I'm going to provide for you. I'll stand
Ah.
right beside you on this journey because
Mm.
somebody did for me as
Yeah.
well too, right? And
Yeah.
I probably break the coaching rules sometimes with clients where it's like I take phone calls throughout the day with them and just kind of shoot the
Mm-hmm.
shit, but at the same time it's
Yeah.
like they need that normalcy as well too, right? They don't
Yes.
have any
Yeah.
healthy friends out there right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
And, and
it's
I like you
fine love.
said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that you said that you kind of break the lines are a bit blurry, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
yeah.
right? Like I
Cause
care.
I
I
do
care
that
about
too.
you. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You're not
Yeah.
you're not
I'm
just a
not,
number.
yeah, like I'm not supposed to follow clients on social media and or
Oh,
message back at yeah, and I do. And why is because
yeah.
these guys reach out to me via social media when they're on the out and
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
they just need that little pep talk like, "Hey,
yeah.
like I don't want to say that you got this, but hey,
No,
what are
no, no,
you
I know what
doing?"
you
You
mean.
know?
But you're a real
Uh,
person. And then this is when I went to go see
mhm.
psychologists, this is I think they do phenomenal work. Like I still
Hmm.
listen to guys like Carl Jung and
Yes, yes, me too.
individuals, you know, or
Hmm.
Machiavelli, philosophers and stuff. But when I
Yes.
first walked in, it could have been the position, and it probably was that I was in, but I was
Hmm.
very intimidated. You've got all these degrees
Hmm.
up on the wall. You're sitting in, you know, a professional outfit, and like I'm coming in here
Hmm.
with neck tattoos and talking about smoking crack, and it's like, oh man, you know, it was so again, it's
Yes.
to be human is we just have to be ourselves. Again, it's
Yeah.
attraction, not promotion. As much as some people may think, oh, this guy's just posting to get views and whatnot, it's like
Mm.
you can think what you want. It is what it
Ah,
is.
what did I just hear there? That you do get some backlash from your viewers?
Oh, tons. I call it daily hate
Yeah.
mail. Yeah, because
Oh.
because once again,
Yeah.
those who can't are they're
Hmm.
gonna mock it, and I understand
Yeah.
that. And here's the thing: if
Yeah.
you were to re-message me even a month after and be like, you know what, I was actually in a really bad position in my life, I'm gonna be the one to answer you.
Yes.
Like I always say, it's very blunt, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm that real motherfucker today that you need in your life,
Yeah.
right? Like I will be
Yeah.
there, and you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I can't take it
Yeah.
personal. Like again, when you expose
Yeah.
yourself on social media, you're
Hmm.
kind of asking for that to happen. I'm
Yeah.
human. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say some of these comments don't get to me, but it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And I've always said if we can just save one person today, then we've done our job.
that's
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, I interviewed a gentleman. He was a PhD in criminal justice, and we talked about child sex abuse.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
wow, I lost thousands of followers in
Yeah.
24 hours. And
Hmm.
at first I was like, damn, like that kind of stings.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? But you have to
No.
get over that.
I we talk about this kind of like because we have
Hmm.
a coaching program as well too, and people get really caught up on like, oh, I'm losing followers, and it's like, no, you're not
Hmm.
losing followers. It's just like friends that you separated from. Is it doesn't
Ah,
matter. We don't
yes.
have control over that. What it's
Yeah.
doing is, you know, you're if it doesn't apply to them, it's okay, right? Like
Hmm.
again, we don't
Yeah.
have control over where something lands. It's, you know,
Yeah.
if it sits with your values and this is what you want to talk about, then you talk about it,
Yeah.
right? But again, if
Yeah.
we're not, it's very difficult because there's, again, I'm not here to piss on anybody, but I call them
Hmm.
Canva coaches, and they come online and they do just B-roll and then they have like a little caption over top of the video, which is great. But
Yeah.
they're, you know, they're saying I made $300,000 last month alone, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't. You're lying. There's no
Mm.
social
Yeah.
proof to that whatsoever, right? And
So
it's,
true. Yeah.
you know, to me, integrity is everything, and that's why it's like I'm gonna go on my social media and I'm gonna spit my truth, and that's all that I have. I can't
Yeah.
speak on what I don't have an experience on, right? And
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
just it.
Yeah.
So I like to keep it real. I like to keep it raw, and trust me, I lose
Hmm.
followers as well too. They're like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is horrendous," and it's like, okay,
Yeah. Oh, well, right. But
yes,
it's funny because a lot of my inner circle always ask me, like, where do you even meet these people? And I'm like, from liking, sharing, and commenting on their stories. That's
yeah,
how I meet them. And now
yeah.
here you and I are in a podcast sharing some war stories.
Yeah. Well, but even
And,
from this, like, I
hmm
know there's going to be people that DM me and be like, "Oh, how did you get that interview? Who did that? I want to get on that." Like, I've got a lot of guys that have like amazing comeback stories, you can call them, right? And
yes.
they're doing a lot of
Yeah.
work and stuff. And some of them haven't got to the point yet in their social media where they've been able to like, you know, get a good view around it. But it's going to happen.
hmm
It takes time, like anything, right? So,
It
yeah,
takes
it's.
time. Like how long have you been building your social media?
Oh, geez, like this. Oh, 2 years for sure.
Yeah,
Like, and
exactly. Yeah.
this wasn't until like basically the last month where everything kind of started popping, and I had a coach to
Mhm.
help me. Like, that's what he does
Ah,
for a living.
yes.
My wife does the same
Mhm.
thing. She's a content strategist, but I wouldn't listen to her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she's sober. She's built her own personal brand. Like, She's a very. You ever want a powerful story from a woman? Keep her in mind.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely I do.
and I mean,
Yes.
I might be biased, but
Yep.
I'm so proud of her every single day, right? And that's one of the gifts that
Ah,
I always pushed people away, right?
yep,
And today it's funny because it's like the things that you think you don't like, you're actually jealous of because you don't know how to get there. So you're
yep,
scared and you're projecting
yes,
and it's a deflection and you're making fun of it, but
yep,
deep down inside you're like, that's all that I want. And I don't take those things for granted today. Like being able to
yep.
cook simply with my wife and sit down on the couch
Hmm.
in a condo that we worked our asses off to get to with, the cat and the dog. My wife
Yeah.
always makes fun of me. She's like, you're such a fucking softy sometimes. What is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I
Oh,
like this, man. Like, just let me be
yeah.
me, right?
I
So,
love it. Yeah,
yeah,
I just love it.
yeah,
And I really like that part too where sometimes watching other people's content can be triggering.
yeah,
So, and we
yeah.
can get very like the thing is the world is a mirror, not a window. Like
Oh, I love that.
we
Yes.
project, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
We reflect what we project. And the thing is my business coach, Katie Grimes,
Yeah,
she always said that she got triggered too. So now she says in her mind to the content creator when she's watching their reels, thank you for
yeah.
showing me what is possible.
That's it. Triggering is
Yes.
usually truth. So if you trigger somebody,
Yes.
it's usually truth that they need to hear. They're just unwilling to
Yeah.
look at it, right? And I
Yeah.
get it. Like I would
Hmm.
compare sometimes in the beginning to some coaches online and my
Yeah.
ego was out. And it was like, you're
Yeah.
just upset that you can't do that, Mike. And
Yeah.
trust me,
So
that's a
true.
humbling experience when you have to
It
face
is,
yourself,
yeah.
right?
And
So,
and for all of those people that maybe are watching this video and is like, "Oh
mhm.
my God, that's horrendous," or your content is so disgusting or whatever. I just want you guys to know that these chapters in our life are absolutely necessary to
Yeah,
do the work that we do.
100%. And I mean, if you go through life trying to please everybody, you are not going to live a
Mhm.
fulfilled life, right? What people think of
Yeah.
me today is none of my
Mhm.
business, right? If you can
Yeah.
stand in your truth, and again, however we share our stories or do whatever we do, it's always a
Yeah.
third, and a third. A third is going to hate it. A third is going to
Mhm.
be like, hey, yeah, that's kind of cool. And a third is going to absolutely love it. I'm not naive. Out of the 10,000
Yeah.
followers I have, there's probably maybe, I don't know, 500 of them that are like really, really connected with it. And
Yeah.
that's amazing, right? So,
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I love that. So, as we're slowly kind of going to wrap up a little bit,
yeah.
I really want to hear your personal take on what type of systematic changes do you want to see in addiction and recovery? And by that I mean like maybe laws or policies or involuntary treatment. Is there anything that stands out?
We were very fortunate when we had this
Mhm.
coffee shop back in Windsor, Ontario. We were able to
Mhm.
be brought in and speak to
Yeah.
nurses and doctors sometimes about this from a life lived experience. And I think the
Mhm.
only thing that I would say that would be nice to change is there's the medical side of it, which I fully
Yeah.
understand and I fully get, but there's also a human side to this as well. And
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
knocking anybody, but the way that I saw, it's going to sound like I'm knocking a profession, but I'm not. Certain doctors treat these
Mhm.
individuals was just not called for. I think there
Agreed.
needs to be a certain level of compassion. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that, there can't be tough love and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
get it. You see individuals come into a detox over the next 2 years 10 times a month. And you're just, there's frustration as well.
Yeah.
But you don't know if that one time that they come in, when you say something, that's it. That's going to help that
Yes.
individual, right? And I think in the system itself, it's look at I'm not naive, right? Like if you want to make a change, get in a position to change. again, I might step
Yeah.
on some toes here, but people that advocate and they go around with a poster that they've made from the dollar store, kudos to
Mm-hmm.
you. But what are you doing? Because at the end of the
Yes.
day, you are not going to be able to solve anything. Get into politics, get into a position in a hospital where you can voice your
Yes.
experience, opinions, and actually make those changes, right? So, I mean, the
Yes.
system is what it is. People are not dumb. People are not naive. You're going up against a monster here. You're going up against
Yes.
massive, massive companies. And the
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate part is we're the profit. And that comes at a cost
Mm.
sometimes. And it's very
Yes.
sad. That is not
Yeah.
something that I've chosen to go up against. I understand it. I read about it. It's very
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate. My heart goes out to it. My grain of stand on the beach is to share my
Mm.
message and hopefully help some individuals, right? So systematically, I'll be brutally honest with you. It's going to take a long time to see some major changes. And that's
Yeah.
just the sad truth,
Agreed.
right? Um,
Yeah, it's so true. And like Gabor Mate speaks on this too, how the Western pharmacology only treats the physical part of things,
that's
right?
it.
It's not
Yeah.
doing emotional, mental,
No, no.
and spiritual,
Yeah. When I spoke in a high school, they asked me. I used to speak in quite a few high schools, and they would always ask me similar, like the
Mm-hmm.
principle of like, well, what would you put in the educational system? And I
Mm-hmm.
said, I would put something in. You could call it like a vulnerability class or something, because a lot of it is where that starts. So the
Yeah.
individual, like you're already segregated in high school. You've got the jocks, the
Mm-hmm.
nerds, the computer guys,
Yeah.
whatever. Well, how do you know that the head of the football team isn't going through the exact same thing as the comic book nerd? But they're
Yeah.
not allowed to talk to each other, right? The one's too scared. The other one is scared of what people will think of him, so he stays away from it. But if we were able to
Mm-hmm.
integrate that somehow, it's just all of this just comes down to communication. Unfortunately, we live in capitalism, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's profit over people. I'll say it. That's my belief. People don't like it. It is what it is, but it's sad.
Yeah.
I've seen people
I
treated with
100% agree.
the most inhumane by professionals. Um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
things like, okay, so when you use again, don't use in the same amount, or when you come back here next time, and it's just like I get it, but at the same time, like
Wow.
there's not a pamphlet of, when you go into the hospital, like, hey, here's a detox that we would like to try and set you up with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a counselor that can come in and speak to you, like even offer that service. It's just no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And what is your take on involuntary treatment? Like if people are breaking the law, even if it's just misdemeanors, I mean, like what about involuntary treatment where they have to go to a 6-month program?
rather than serve time.
Well, no, the guys that are serving time, I think should have to go to
Right, right.
programs. But I mean, I'm just even talking about your addict that's out on Main and Hastings that's,
Mm.
got some misdemeanors but keeps getting out. So it's a revolving door in the penitential or the prison system.
Well, and it ties up the judicial system as well too, right?
Hmm.
So,
It does. Hmm.
I mean, I think there's some humanitarian things that probably have to be looked at, and I'm not an expert on that. But
Hmm.
I think if
Hmm.
an individual, are you, the thing is, I think we're causing them more harm just putting them in a jail system.
Oh, a
They
hundred
don't need
percent.
jail, right? The jail is just going
No,
to
no.
isolate them, and jail,
Hmm.
whether you go in there for whatever, jail is just a
Hmm.
university for meeting more connections,
It's so true.
right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the word involuntary, that I think that word in itself probably, freaks a lot of people out. Like, if the
Mm.
individual is given a choice, let's say, okay, you're not going to
Hmm.
jail this time, we're putting you in a 6-month program. I don't disagree with that. I don't think,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
that's our program.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, well, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of individuals out there, whether you're stuck in limited beliefs or you're stuck in doing heroin, you
Hmm.
want to
Yeah.
change. You don't know how. You don't even
That's
know where to
right.
start, right? And
Yes.
you're dope sick, and there's nothing feasible. Do you know what it costs to go to a recovery home if it's not covered by the government?
Oh, it can be over $100,000.
Oh, like the ones that a lot, like some people that I know that went through around the Toronto area,
Hmm
30 grand for 15, 20
Yeah,
days.
minimum 30
Yeah, and
grand.
that's
Like,
paid up front. There's no
yeah.
financing. There's no
hmm
anything, right? And it's just
hmm
like, holy shoot. So it look at if the individual can
Yeah.
get the help that they need,
hmm
sometimes I think they need to be pushed in there. They don't necessarily even know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you get them detoxed, you speak with them, you explain everything
hmm
to them, and yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
though, if
hmm
I was just gonna
Go ahead.
say, if it's involuntary where people are just being picked up
hmm
off the street, thrown into a treatment center, I think that's gonna break some
yeah.
humanitarian rights. But no,
Yeah. Yeah.
what we just discussed, if that's the process, then
hmm
yeah, I think it's great.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah, and that like I was saying, that is our program. They either choose jail and or 6-month mandatory program, but
right.
like picking people off the street, I do agree with you. Like there has to be some sort of soft landing where,
Yeah, yeah,
there's a humanitarian thing in there. I agree. However,
yeah.
what's going on right now is not working.
No, and look at I I like where area are you from, Rhonda?
I'm in southern BC, so I'm just outside of Vancouver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 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 exactly. So
hmm
like we have, it's like there's safe injection sites, there's harm reduction, there's methadone
Yes.
and all this stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
but I can't speak on that. I've never
Mhm.
been dope sick. So
Yeah.
again, it'd be egotistical of me to say do this when
Mhm.
I don't know, from my experience. What I
Yeah.
do
True.
see though is individuals, and we have, I don't even know what to call them. They're kind of like homeless shelters around here, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the rules that are installed in there, it's a free for all. It's just people.
Mm.
So I think people are shooting
Yeah.
dope in there, and it's people don't even want to go there. So
Yes.
now we ask,
Mhm.
why is there tents everywhere? Because those places aren't safe, man. So
Yes. So true.
how, to me, the question is, how does the
Mhm.
government not notice this?
Yes.
But
Right.
there's bigger things to worry about to them, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a fine
Yeah.
line I find between a businessman and a criminal and a
Mhm.
politician, and I'll just leave it at
Oh, isn't
that.
that the truth?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not naive, and I have to accept that
Mhm.
there's three options that I have, right? I can just
Mhm.
accept it, I can leave it and just
Mhm.
never look at it, or I can fight it. And I
Yeah.
believe that's anything in life, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not a bad person because I haven't chosen to fight that. My fight today is to
Mhm.
help the other individual. That's me doing my part,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
as well. And I feel that's a lot
Mhm.
more than a lot of other individuals are doing. Doesn't mean that I'm
Yeah.
better, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm on the fence with the involuntary treatment, right? Because
yeah,
50% of me says if we get them in there and we have them for 6 months, that might be enough time for them to make the change that they would
mhm,
never have made the choice to do if they had a choice.
yeah,
Right? That
yeah,
like we need
yeah.
them for at least 6 months, right? And but I get it, that humanitarian part of it. It's just a slippery slope.
It is
Yeah.
right, and it's. I
Mhm.
mean, East Hastings, especially. I mean, there's even around here, like
Mhm.
it's very difficult to just watch somebody more or less die in front of you. Like they're
Exactly.
slowly killing themselves, right? And to have an
Yeah.
attitude of, oh, I don't give a shit. It's like,
Yeah.
here's the truth. Statistically, every single
Mhm.
person has been affected by addiction somehow, whether it's a
Oh,
friend, family
big
member, a
time.
coworker.
Yeah.
Like this, it's not this big like hidden thing anymore. It's
Mhm.
just people struggle with it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So true. So true. So with some final words, Mike,
yeah.
for someone who might be hitting rock bottom or who is feeling really lost, what is a piece of advice that you can tell the viewers that might be on the fence?
Rock bottom is the biggest gift that'll ever happen to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean that is someone messaged me the other day and they were like, I'm in a detox. I don't know, how they had a cell phone, but whatever. I'm in a detox
Right.
or I'm going
Yeah.
to a detox. And I said, it's the best
Mhm.
place that you could ever be. And they couldn't fathom that. Yeah, but I'm in a detox. He said, this could be the worst day of your life or the best day because
Yeah.
you're in there. There's a lot of people
Mhm.
that I knew that they needed change and they're in a
Yeah.
graveyard right now. So,
Oh, ouch, yeah.
it's
Mhm.
your rock bottom is if that whatever it takes, like everyone's rock bottom is different, right? Like I
Yeah.
found trap doors, not everybody did.
Mhm.
I had suicide attempt and still went out and
Mm.
used drugs for another 15 years. Smoked crack on East Hastings, still went out and used cocaine after for years. But
Mm. Mhm.
the moment I think if you get that aha moment, it's so powerful of, with an addict especially, there's just that little open window, I call it, where it's just like they have
Mhm.
all you need is a little bit of willingness. That's it. And that little bit
Yes.
of willingness will literally, I know this sounds really corny, but that willingness will give you a life you could never have dreamed of before, ever. So
Mm.
I look at rock bottom is treat it as a gift because if you don't,
Yeah.
you're just going to feed guilt and shame and you're just going to continue to
Yeah.
keep staying buried, right? That's it. Don't be ashamed. Don't let fear consume you. What's the worst that can
Yeah.
happen, right? You already know where this is
Yeah.
going. It's showing you,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. So true. And then just one more thing too. How about for that guy, man or woman, that actually are high functioning, have a job, weekend warriors, but things are slowly starting to unravel, maybe in their relationships. What would you say to them?
I mean, you have to be honest with yourself, right?
Mhm.
We have a big banking industry here in Toronto, so there's a lot of people that work in the stock market, and it's a fast life, and it's a lot of money, and it's cocaine and champagne and
Mhm.
penthouse suites, and they're lost, right? I'm not centering out that. That's just an
No, no, but
example. But
yep.
for the
Yep.
high functioning individual, in all honesty, can sometimes it can last longer, unfortunately, because
Yes.
their ego and the materialism makes them say, "I'm okay." The truth of it is people get scared to use the terminology of like, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict. Well, you're not,
Mhm.
right? Like you're it's your solution. So if you can come to
Yeah.
terms with that, right? It just comes down to
Yeah.
being honest with yourself. And trust me when I say this is it's not going to get any better emotionally. It's not. And the booze
It's
and the
not.
blow that you're hiding behind or whatever you're doing to mask this. Like I always ask people, like I have a tattoo right here, and it's an angel with a blindfold, and it means like, who would you be if the world was blindfolded, or who are you when no
Mm.
one's looking, right? So if we
Ah.
pull these individuals out of the big offices and the fancy cars, who are you?
Mhm.
You don't even know how to. You're Bambi on ice. You don't even know how to stand up right now, man. So it
Yeah.
with them, it's they got to learn how to smash their ego. But I mean, there's not
Mhm.
hope that's taken away. You just have to
Mhm.
have the ability and find that courage to just say, okay, I got to look at this.
Ah, wow. That was a really profound message, Mike. I
Yeah,
really, really enjoyed that. Yeah.
yeah,
That
no
was a good
problem.
one.
Thank you. This was
Yeah.
amazing.
So, yeah, it was really good. We did 2 hours. We
Yeah,
did good.
yeah. We like to
Yeah, no,
talk.
that's awesome. I love it. So, also let the viewers know, how do we find you?
So I use just my platform of Instagram. It's true you
Mm-hmm.
underscore Mike. I try my best to get back to everybody through DMs. I get a lot of DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Even in my requests, I constantly go in my requests as well too. But
Mm-hmm.
It's like an open door policy, you know, shoot me a message, even if it's, you know, hey, whatever, like anything. Like I always encourage somebody to reach out, and that's where I think the beauty of social media is, and be able to build that community
Mm-hmm.
is. It starts with me on my page. If you land on it, you see me being real, being raw, being honest. Hopefully that gives you the courage to, you know, realize you're not alone. You know, there's other people out there that are going through the exact same things and have been through the same things. And I always
Yeah.
encourage people to shoot me a DM. You might not even like
Yes.
need coaching. Maybe you just want to say like, hey, you know, thanks for sharing or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
I'm all about building community. Like I love
I
engaging with
love
other
it.
people and listening to them and hearing their stories and stuff. Like I'm gonna jump on a phone call after this with actually a guy from BC.
Nice.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Honestly, I forget the name because he just started following me. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I think you follow him as well too.
Oh, good. We were the inspiration for him to
Yeah,
reach out.
definitely
Yeah.
could have been. Like, well, there's a gentleman, I think I can say his name. You interviewed him. His name was Sonny.
Sunny.
Was that his name? Or
I
maybe
don't
you
think.
shared something that he was on. I think he was on the
Oh,
Hopeaholics or something.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Forgive me for that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
Sunny Von Cleveland.
yeah. So
Yeah,
now we've
yeah. I
connected.
haven't. Oh, I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
interviewed him
Okay,
yet.
okay. Yeah,
But he has said he would, and
yeah.
you should check out his story on Soft White Underbelly.
Yeah. That's like I saw
Wow.
his Instagram. He's got a little pin from it, and what that guy like,
Yeah.
soft white underbelly. He does unbelievable things, man. Like to be able
Yes,
to just give
exactly.
individuals
Uh,
that voice. Some of them are still in it,
yeah.
and it's
Oh
just
God,
here's a
yes. Yeah.
platform, share. Like it's one of
Yeah.
my
I'm so
favorite
glad.
channels. Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
super
I'm so
super
glad.
cool.
Yeah. See? Okay, so for the viewers, once again, for those of you that are on the fence about social media, look at the community that's forming because of this,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't use social media for validation. I use it
No.
uh, to put value out. Hopefully, it lands on
Hmm.
somebody, and you know, it's amazing when you utilize it for actually
Yeah.
social aspect of it. It's really
Yeah.
powerful, and I've connected with a lot of
Hmm.
amazing people through it as well too. Like I have a bigger
Yeah.
connection with some of the people on social media than I did with the guys I used to drink with at the bar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even once upon a time interviewed a guy that potentially, if the timelines were right, was
Mm.
a member of SWAT that came through my doors once.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I'm a bit older than him, so the timeline probably doesn't match. But
right.
that's what I mean. Like that's the connections that social media can bring together. Is
Oh,
that
it's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, and
100%.
he was so good about it too. I'm like, hi. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, Mike, thank you
yeah,
so much.
100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing. Keep sharing. Again, if you
Thank
ever need
you.
a guest, let me know. I know a lot of interesting people.
Absolutely.